Hi, everyone. So today I am going to take you through the recent LinkedIn algorithm update that happened at the end of last year, 360 Brew. I'm going to explain it in a very simple and visual and practical way because like anything, when it comes to the AI landscape and algorithms and LinkedIn, it is very overwhelming and can be very stressful. And if you are feeling overwhelmed by it, maybe you don't know why your engagement has dropped and maybe you're feeling very frustrated with LinkedIn, I promise you, you are not alone. 98% of creators on LinkedIn have seen a drop in their engagement since the algorithm update. So just to quickly introduce myself, my name's Amy. I am the founder of Bold, which is a content agency that helps founders and individuals build their personal brands on LinkedIn through one-on-one consulting, also a done-for-you content service and team workshops. I also run a community of women who are building businesses off their personal brands. I have been building my personal brand on LinkedIn for close to 10 years now. And in the last few years, I really went in. And for me, building my network and building my personal brand, I knew that if I continue to add people to my network, build my community, my topics have changed a lot across the years that I've been posting on LinkedIn, but I have always remained true to my values. I've always been myself. I post my content in the way that I speak, and I think that is what has worked for me. And in the last couple of years, I really doubled down. I was a recruiter initially, and I used to use it as a way to help companies attract talent into their businesses. I was hired at Twitter to do a DE&I role, all because of the personal brand I had built on LinkedIn. So it has been a massive leverage for me. It has been the reason I was able to start my own company. A couple of years ago, I really doubled down on my LinkedIn content. I was posting 3 times a week, and I was posting content in the format that was really adding value to my reader. There was a few things that I did that I'm going to share with you shortly. Even when people were complaining about their impressions being low, I was still getting consistent high impressions. I was added to the LinkedIn Top Voice program, which means I was in the top 1% of the creators. I still don't even have a website, and I have built officially a 6-figure business in just over a year, and it's all because of my LinkedIn personal brand and a Calendly link. I am such a big advocate for this platform, and I know that if you really put in the effort at the beginning, and if you really consider your positioning, what is the kind of content I want to share with people? What is the sort of brand I want to build? How do I want to make people feel with my content? What do I want them to do? How do I want to work with people? How do I want to engage people? You will be successful. The reason we're here today is to talk about 360 Brew. That is the name of the update that happened at the end of 2025. So what has happened now is that it's gone from multiple systems approach in the algorithm to one system. And this one system is AI. Initially, the algorithm, it was 7% of your first degree connections, and then they would determine how well it did. So in theory, that sounds great, but people started gamifying the system. So what matters now? Your profile is really important. You need to fill out your about section. You need to really spend time on your profile. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you why. Your humanness. LinkedIn has always been a place of corporate jargon, but now it's really rife because AI has made it worse. We are intelligent people. We all have seen. It is so obvious when people write their posts using AI because a lot of people are really doubting themselves when it comes to actually writing content on LinkedIn. They're really scared that their ex-boss is going to see them. I always say, if you knew how little people thought about you, you would be offended, you would be insulted, because people don't care. They don't care about what you're doing. And if they do, their lives aren't obviously that interesting if they're spending time worrying about what you're doing. We don't need 3 PhDs to write a post on LinkedIn. You, I'm sure, have a lot of interesting experience. There's probably a lot of stuff that you can talk about that your target audience would be interested in. But the most critical thing is that you need to make it human. Please do not go write a post and then put it in ChatGPT or Claude and say, make this better. Because what it does is it takes your pure experience that you've just written down and it makes it into a robotic ChatGPT-esque style post that is just does not look good. Please trust me on this one. Your relevance is now more important than anything. Who are you? What are you doing? What is the problem you're solving? The service that you're providing? What is it and how is it relevant? And how can you curate your profile and your content so that that is really obvious? The algorithm that exists now puts you into cluster buckets. It clusters you into this person does leadership development, does executive coaching, blah, blah, blah. And then it wants to pin you to certain keywords so that it can then feed your content to relevant people that are searching for people like you. So it's a much more sophisticated algorithm. It also means that, you know, people who are gamifying the system, that's not working anymore, which is great for those of us that are actually making good content and putting effort into it. So what 360 Brew does when it comes to our LinkedIn profile, and this is why it's so important to actually create a proper profile on LinkedIn. Your about section, your tagline, your experience section. You need to think about 10 to 15 keywords. Again, if you have been using AI, ask AI, based on everything you know about me, what would you say are the 10 to 15 keywords that are relevant to me that I can use on my LinkedIn profile? Put the effort in, figure out what are those 10 to 15 keywords so that it can cluster you properly. Repeat those keywords as much as you can in your about section, in your experience section, in your tagline, and in your content. Try and create that repetition. So I always say when I'm working with founders, you need to get comfortable saying 5 different things that you believe to be true about whatever it is industry that you're in, and like make them strong statements and then find 10 different ways of saying them, right? So that is building a personal brand. So then we have the NAN test. You need to be able to show your NAN or an alien or someone who's 5 your LinkedIn profile, and they need to be able to explain what you do, right? This happens so often when it comes to LinkedIn or any sort of messaging, because we're often too close to the thing, the subject matter. We get so lost in it. My friend Joe says you're the jam in the jam jar. And what we really need to do is just completely simplify it. So when you build your profile, definitely if you can, show it to someone, ideally show it to someone outside your sector, outside your world. And say to them, by looking at my LinkedIn profile, is it obvious what I'm doing? It's so worth learning how to write good content. You don't have to be a professional, but learn how to write in marketing language. It will make such a massive difference in how you write content, how you write pitches, how you approach things, how you write emails. Learning the psychology around creating good content that actually brings people into your world is such an amazing skill, especially now when everyone else is relying on AI. Be the person that learns how to write really well, because I promise you, when all the AI noise dies down, and it will, you will be the one that stands out. You will be the one that has something really insightful to say. It's different language to what I'm seeing all over the newsfeed. We're all seeing the same words, the same language. Don't underestimate, by just stepping to the side and doing something different, how much that will impact your content. So what should my content be doing right now on LinkedIn? Images, without fail. If you're sharing a post, please share an image. Honestly, using your camera on your phone is as good as anything, and it doesn't always have to be a picture of your face. Like, ideally, you would use that because that's going to get more engagement, because people engage with pictures of human beings because they make eye contact with you. It's just like on an instinctive level, we look at someone's face and we engage with them. Images with every post. So take a nice picture of something outside. Wipe your camera. Do not forget to wipe your camera. If you're at an event and you're taking a selfie, hold your phone up because it's a much better angle. Let the light face you, face your face. Don't let the sun blind you. But if you can have a side angle where you're getting light on your face, I have a light in front of me right now while I'm presenting this to you. Having that light in your face, it looks a lot more professional and the person can really see your face and it actually just looks much nicer. Nice, visually engaging stuff. Just honestly, it's also worth watch a quick YouTube video, how to take a nice photo. Like, it's actually not that complicated and it's worth learning how to do it. Infographics, you know what they are. You can do them really easily on Canva. Amazing if you have an infographic with a picture of you on it, and maybe it's like you're sharing a quote. Maybe you're putting the hook in an infographic with a picture of you next to it, or you could literally just go into Canva, search quote graphics, and put in a quote, and maybe put your company logo on it. It honestly is not that deep. It can be so simple. Some of the biggest creators, you have Sahil Bloom. He so often reposts the exact same post. Sometimes he does it on a monthly basis and it gets nearly 7,000 likes every time. And he repeats his content over and over and over again. And he just literally uses an infographic of a tweet of him basically summarizing the post into a hook. Because when you think about the LinkedIn newsfeed, When people are scrolling, the first thing they see is the graphic. Your brain is going to go straight to that sentence. And what you need to do is get them engaged quickly, because one of the most important things now across all social media is dwell time. So how long someone stays on your post. If it's under 3 seconds, your post is going to get swallowed and you're going to get penalized. If it's more than 3 seconds, ideally you want it to be 10 to 15 seconds. 15 seconds is like amazing. Longer than that is like brilliant. This is going to do really well. Dwell time is the thing that leads to impressions and that leads to engagement. Uncomplicated again, show your nan, what do you think of this? Do you know what I mean by this? Like, keep things so simple. Tell me like I'm 5. Videos are still doing really well, especially talking to the camera. Again, wipe your camera. It's also, again, just worth watching a YouTube video. How can I make a nice catchy video? Get a tripod online for a $5, for $10, whatever, and use that, and you can hold it in your hand and you can just prop it up and you can talk to it. It's also maybe worth getting a ring light. Again, it probably costs about a $10. These little things make your content so much better. I have a ring light behind my laptop so that you can see my face when I'm presenting. I also have my phone propped up on a tripod because I'm recording this so that I can double up on this content, chop it up into small reels and turn it into videos. And I use CapCut for all my editing. It is so easy. And you just want to have a hook on the top to hook people in. What are you talking about? Maybe you want to put some captions, keep it under 1 minute, bite-sized, talking head, bish, bash, bosh. And don't say anything like, hey guys, I'm just jumping on. I hope you're all doing well. No, get straight into the topic. Get straight in. I want to talk to you about dwell time on LinkedIn. What does this mean? Like, and talk with conviction. It's really hard at the beginning. I know it feels really scary, but it is so worth doing it. There's some really nice content that's doing well at the moment beyond talking heads. Stuff like if you're going to an event, you could be like, follow me, I'm going to an event. Look at the biggest creators. Look at the content that they're sharing and that they're posting. What are they doing? I saw this girl the other day. She's creating talking head videos, which means it's your head and you're talking to the camera and it's just you literally front facing, like as if you're having a conversation with someone. She's sitting on a London bus with a mic and she props up her tripod and she's basically like, yeah, so today I want to talk about blah, 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 blah. And it's creating that interesting setting. Caleb Ralston talks about this because he's the guy that built Alex Hormozy and Gary Vee's brand, personal brand. He always says, talk about the stuff that you want to talk about. So for me, building personal brands on LinkedIn, but do it in a nice setting. Do it when you're playing your guitar. Do it for him. He's out on his motorbike. Now he has a whole production team, so that's a different thing. But have a think about how you can make your content interesting, especially video. Carousels do really well. Again, Canva is so easy. Just get a couple of brand colors that you like. Keep them consistent. 3-4 colors. You want maybe 2 strong colors and 2 neutrals. And make sure that they complement each other in some way or another. And top tips, like my 3 top tips or my 5 learnings or 3 things I think about, blah, blah, blah. Like those things that are valuable for people. Again, if you're thinking and hearing about what's happening, what do people want, especially in my target audience, how can I give them value? And then have a call to action at the end. And honestly, people are going to save that stuff, and saves is also very important. And they're going to stop on it and they're going to scroll. That is the dwell time. Newsletter apparently is doing really well now. They're boosting long form newsletters. So if you haven't thinking about one, try it out, do it on LinkedIn. But what I would say is don't keep all of your contacts on one platform. Move contacts over to, for me, I use Beehive. I highly recommend using Beehive or using something. It's free up to 10,000 subscribers. Have a newsletter where you actually own the email addresses, because God forbid, I was part of the Twitter situation where it all kind of fell apart overnight and I saw people's careers literally just fall apart in a few hours. So I am very much about mitigating the risk with social media and taking people offline so that you have their email addresses. So I'm a big believer in the newsletter, but do also try the LinkedIn newsletter and just, you can double up. You can have your own newsletter and then you can have the LinkedIn one, and you can just, again, it's all to do with what's working now. How can you build your brand and leverage the stuff that is working and the stuff that's going to get you out in front of people? So these are my top posts for the first 3 months of this year. When everyone's talking about their engagement dropping, mine actually went up. So I'm obviously doing something that is working with the new algorithm. In general, though, this is what's actually always worked on LinkedIn. So things like announcements. So I was hiring a freelancer a few months ago and I put it out there and it went absolutely wild. And again, you will see I shared it with an infographic, and I kept the information very clear, very obvious. Center of the infographic, I had my company logo on there, and I just literally listed a couple of very simple things, and it was white text on a pink background. So there's also enough contrast for it to be really obvious. When someone scrolls, they'll stop, they'll look at it. The second one was relatively controversial. It was drama, it was intrigue. It was the first sentence. Of course, someone was going to press click more. On LinkedIn, when you see a post, you will see the first 2 sentences, and then it says see more. That's your hook. So it's important that you write something that's going to intrigue people so that they click see more. And again, that's the dwell time. So you do want to engage people, but you want to write something meaningful. So that was my hook. I talked about the fact that LinkedIn took my top badge off me 2 days before Christmas because I just didn't post for 2 weeks. The visual is a selfie that I took. I turned my phone around. My iPhone is a Pro, so I've got the 3 cameras, but you can do this, I think, on most lenses now on the iPhone. Zoom out to 0.5 lens and turn the phone around, and it gives a really cool shot. So that's what I did. My auntie was like, what the hell are you doing? She was like, you can put it in selfie mode. And I was like, I know, but trust me on this one. So it looks really cool. And, we've got a Dublin sunset in the background. We're by the sea again. And I put a filter over it to really make the colors pop. And you can do all of that on the iPhone. It is so simple. You just literally go into your photo, go along the bottom, click filter. I use the second one usually, which just brightens it up. But you can use one that's got really blue tones. And it just, again, creates a color pop so that the image looks really nice. You can't even really see me. I'm just hugging my auntie, but it's also quite wholesome. One of my big things about my content is, yes, I will say the hard stuff. I will call out the bullshit. I will, talk about the hardships of building a business, but I will always frame it in a way that, inspires someone and brings hope into the newsfeed, because we need more positivity. We need more hope. And the third one is me weighing in on something. So this was a post that I saw, I think someone else had shared it, and it was like the top 20 creators. And of course, there was like 3 women. Like, it was ridiculous. So if even, I think there was 2 women. So I weighed in on that. I mean, it didn't go wild in terms of engagement, which is really interesting. It didn't get loads of likes, but you'll see it got a lot of impressions. So even though a lot of people didn't engage with it because it was relatively controversial, because I was talking about like women, it still got engagements because people still read it and stopped. And that often happens on LinkedIn, especially if you talk about stuff that people don't want to maybe be seen to be liking because they might get judged by their colleagues, but they'll still look at it. So comments and engagement for me, because that's eyes on my content, those are the metrics that I care about. So it's good to understand what's important now. Just to summarize it, dwell time, like I said, which is ideally 10 to 15 seconds that you want someone to be looking at your content. Saves, so carousels and all that kind of stuff. Anything that's valuable enough for people to be like, I want to save that, I'm going to come back to it. If you're sharing statistics that you read, like an interesting quote, something that is going to prompt someone to save, and observe the stuff that you save. That's what I do. I'm like, why did I save that? What's interesting about that? And then you become a person who's curious and who's interested, and let that be your research, and base your stuff off your own behavior, because human beings, we're all actually a lot more similar than we want to believe. Meaningful comments. So there's loads of automated tools out there. There's loads of AI bots writing comments on behalf of people. At one point last year, there was just such a massive influx of tools that could write your comments for you. And I don't know what sort of person is going to pay for a subscription for them to be out here commenting as a robot. I just would never do that on my LinkedIn page, because that's your entire reputation. And imagine if it just got messed up and said something really weird. That's your public brand. It's mental to me. But what is important now is meaningful comments. So a comment that is very clearly written by a human, that is writing something meaningful under the post. I need to get better at this, but say something. It doesn't have to be super lengthy. You don't have to overthink it, but just something meaningful that is relevant to the post. Stay in your lane for 80% of your content. So the reason I put a fence is because I was listening to this guy. His name is Ash. He does what I do. He built Stephen Bartlett's personal brand, and he works with all these massive names. And I was listening to him doing an event the other day, and he makes sure that when they are creating content, or when he's doing their content for them, and I do this with my clients, we have to decide what are the 3 pillars that we are creating content around. Even though it's really tempting, anything outside of that, unless it's relevant, it has to be in that 20% bucket. It cannot be haphazard random stuff. Stuff like that is okay, I think, on Instagram. For LinkedIn, 80% has to be relevant to what you want to say. My pillars of content for LinkedIn are professional, personal, and proof. And I do it in that order. So professional, so solving problems for your clients, talking about LinkedIn personal branding in my case, talking about the feelings around it. Like, I know we all feel cringe about posting, but here's some stuff that can be helpful. So that's all the professional stuff. The personal stuff is, still to do with my work. I always say professional, not private. So don't share all your trauma, your private life. Share personal to you. This is my favorite book. This is something that I do to try and concentrate my ADHD brain when I'm doing a workshop, like blah, blah, blah. It's still to do with my business and my kind of professional stuff, but it's personal to me. And third is proof. So your social proof. So whether it's a testimonial, it could be a WhatsApp of one of your clients saying, oh my God, this is amazing that this post that you did for me has gone viral. If someone sends you some positive feedback, ask them, hey, I'll anonymize this, but can I share a screenshot? I have found that if I shared screenshots on WhatsApp and things like that, because it brings people behind the scenes and they love that. So don't underestimate random things like that, and think really outside the box with your content. Stuff like that does so well. But that is your proof, your social proof. Who are the brands you're working with? Where are you going? What are the workshops you're doing? Who are you working with? How are you working with them? Testimonials, any of that stuff is so good for showing the proof. I'm actually out here working with clients and they're happy with me. And you need to remind people of that. I always ask myself these 3 questions when I'm writing a post, or when I'm writing a newsletter, or when I'm sending someone a DM on LinkedIn. What is the message I'm trying to share, especially with LinkedIn content? Because a lot of us can write so much, and actually you just need to say one thing. And I have a content framework, which I'm going to share with you at the end. And I dump all of my post ideas in there. And it's absolute chaos, but that's what I use. And then I just remind myself for each post, what is the one thing I'm trying to share in this post? Why would anyone care about this? Again, if you're sending a DM, why would they care about this? Why would someone care about this LinkedIn post? Why would they stop? Is it interesting to someone outside of you? How do I want people to feel? That is so important. How do I want people to feel when they read my content? The purple cow theory. Everyone's in here in the noise. AI, this, that, and the other. How can you pull yourself out of that and do something that is totally different? So the purple cow theory is actually from Seth Godin, but Mr. Beast, who's on the right-hand side, who's the biggest YouTuber in the world. He talks about it all the time. And basically, it's that if you're driving along and you see cow after cow after cow, and you're not even really thinking about it. But then if you saw a purple cow, you'd be like, oh, wow, there's a purple cow. How that shows up in content or marketing or brand is that you need to create something different to everyone else. And it doesn't have to be super dramatic, but just think about, how can I make myself a purple cow? How can I make my content a purple cow in and among the AI slop? What can I do that is different? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't have to be a brand new idea. It can be just something different. Working on your hook is so important. It is such a good idea to learn how to do a good hook. I highly recommend figuring out your hook is your first sentence, your first 2 sentences of your post. Whether you're sharing a video, whether you're sharing, a podcast on YouTube, you will see all the big YouTubers, they have their hook. And the other thing about a hook is you're giving your reader enough respect so that they can self-select in or out of what you're about to share with them. There's nothing more annoying than you're watching a video and you're like, why the hell am I watching this? And you get 7 minutes in and you're like, oh my God, they've been cutting this birthday cake for 7 minutes and I just don't know when it's going to end, and my brain is rotting because I'm watching this thing. I obviously did that recently and I'm talking from experience, but I just think let them know what it's about and hook them in, but make it punchy and speak about it in the first person, owning the statement, creating that curiosity. I don't have the time to go into it right now, but it is so worth learning how to do a good hook. Think of yourself as a vessel. I'm sure you've had a whole career of so much that is still yours, that is your IP. And you've probably read loads of books, listened to loads of podcasts. I'm sure you're a curious person because you've gotten this far listening to me. So you are a vessel. And I always say to people, especially people that are scared of building their brand, think of yourself as sharing something that you have learned that's interesting. You are the vessel, and it's not look at me, it's look at this cool thing that I learned. And I just think that reframing makes a massive difference in the feeling comfortable sharing something interesting, because it's not all like, oh my God, look at how great I am. That is so cringe. We don't want to do that. But we do want to be like, you know what? I learned this really cool thing the other day and I want to share it with you. So it's okay to share something that you read in someone else's book or in an article, you can quote them. They'd be delighted for you to be sharing that information. And don't just assume that everyone else is reading it. I love when I see someone that says, I'm reading this book and this is what I find really interesting about it. I love that. You've got people's attention, and use it wisely. And when you act as a vessel and you share, that's also how you share valuable insights and stuff that is like your own experience. That's as important as anything else. And I really encourage you to share it. Offer value. So I always say with everything, lead with value. Whenever I'm sending someone a DM on LinkedIn, I will say, hey, I'm hosting a closed discussion for marketing leaders next week on the new LinkedIn algorithm update. I'd love you to come. I'm not asking them for anything. I'm giving them value. With my LinkedIn content, I also try and lead with value. I will give loads of stuff away for free. I am just such a big believer in that being the way forward. Like, I never approach someone with, what can I get from this person? I will approach someone and think to myself, what can I give to this person? And that has worked so well for me. And now that I have my own brand and I'm running events and whatever, and there's a lot of people that want to partner with me and work with me, I can smell a mile away the people that are coming to me with, oh my God, I love what you're doing. I want to help you. I want to tell everyone about you. You can feel it. So when you are approaching someone who is big, has a bigger brand or is in a company and they're a big budget holder, just think about them because they're thinking about them. So think about, how can I help them? How can I make their life easier through something that I can offer them? And start the relationship with value. And I promise you, they will want to work with you. Serve your content up in a simple, digestible way. And again, take the NAN test. I cannot stress this enough. We've all been traumatized by the corporate world. We've all been there where we've been at companies. We get the massive long email and it's like internal comms and it's a big wall of text and it literally makes my brain have a meltdown. And I always say, keep it simple. Tell me like I'm 5. Allow the message to hit people really quickly. Again, this is why it's worth learning how to do a bit of copywriting, a bit of marketing text. It's so worth learning how to do this, but just break it down. Apparently, the reading age grade is 5 to 7 on LinkedIn. That's what you need to be aiming for. So keeping it really, really simple. Complex words lose up to 40% of engagement. So we all know it. Like, we skim past anything that's too complex, that's too corporate, because we're used to everything being so quick, and our brains need that and want that nowadays. It's the attention economy. Everyone is trying to get our attention, and it's the same for all these decision makers. Make people feel something. I cannot stress this enough. Like, I have been experimenting with this so much. When I am more human, especially my newsletter, because I can literally see the stats of how many people click in and read and who clicks through what. When I send out a newsletter and it's me talking about how hard it was at the beginning of setting up my business and how, you know, when I say something that's trying to incite hope in people, I always get loads of replies from people and I always get a much higher click-through rate. And it's the same on LinkedIn. My engagement is so much more. Like when I shared the post about, you know, LinkedIn took my top voice badge off me, I was showing a vulnerability. I was bringing people into my world and saying, sit with me. I need to tell you something bad that happened to me. I was really upset about it, but this is what I did. And, you know, people make purchasing decisions based off emotion. So people that would have felt connected to me in that moment, and I did get a number of messages. I get leads when I write stuff like that because it resonates with people and they want to work with me. And I swear it's just so worth learning how to write stuff. Think about the pain that your ICP is experiencing. What is the pain point and how can you write content that really speaks to that pain point and that is really relatable to that person? 95% of purchasing decisions are emotional, and that's according to Harvard. Leaving you on my final thought, I love sharing this quote. So criticism is something that we can avoid easily by saying nothing, doing nothing, and being nothing. And that is so true. And that is also true for building your brand on LinkedIn and creating content. Feel free to steal my content planner. I've also added in some AI prompts into that. So jump in. I have a whole breakdown, your checklist, your goals. Like, it's basically my brain popped in there. And obviously you have your content planner as well, which I always find quite helpful. And the prompts also help you with your positioning, and especially if you're kind of in the early stages of building your profile, building your brand. And connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone.